The very first day that Modern Horizons 3 was legal, my local game store was holding their weekly Modern event. I decided to go take one of my personal old favorite decks, Bring to Light Scapeshift. It's not a deck that has seen a lot of play from me in a while, but I used to play it a long time ago in the old PTQ series and even got to the finals once. Didn't quite get there, but with some new cards from Modern Horizons 3, I wanted to give this a try again. I recorded my live gameplay, and I'm going to be breaking the deck down in detail. So if you're already familiar with the list you see here, which is my own little brew version of it, feel free to go ahead and skip right into the games, but make sure you start by hitting the subscribe button. If you're not already familiar with the deck, it's a sort of a tempo control deck with a combo finish that's completely built around this card, Bring to Light. It's a 5-mana sorcery that says you can search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery which that total mana value is equal to or less than the total number of colors you use to cast the spell. You exile it, then you cast the spell without paying its mana cost. And you combine it with the old sorcery from Morningtide, Scapeshift. For 4 mana, you can sacrifice any number of lands on the battlefield, and then you search your library for that many lands, doesn't have to be basic lands, put them on the battlefield tap. And the idea of the deck is you want to get to at least 7 lands, which is a lot. But once you do that and you cast Scapeshift, you sacrifice all 7 of the lands, and then you search your library for this land, Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, which says whenever a mountain enters the battlefield, if you control at least 5 other mountains, then Valakut deals 3 damage to any target. Now, Valakut itself is not a mountain, but if you have 7 lands, you get the Valakut plus 6 other mountains. And since each of them enter the battlefield at the same time, each mountain sees the other 5 mountains entering, and so they all trigger Valakut. 6 times 3 is 18 damage, which usually is enough damage in Modern to KO them because we're all playing shock lands. Now, most of the shock lands I'm playing in this deck involve mountains like Stomping Ground and Steam Vents, but there's also some Triomes in there too, just to make sure we have enough mountains. Now, the new card that really got my attention for this deck was Planar Genesis. I saw this card, I was like, oh, it goes right in this deck. It's perfect fit. Because decks like this were usually playing an old card called Growth Spiral, which was the same cost, same kind of card. You could just draw a card, and then you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. The problem with that is if you don't have a land in your hand, then you just draw a card for 2 mana, and that's really bad. Worst case scenario, this is an Impulse, which is much better at 2 mana. And you don't have to have the land in your hand. You get to dig 4 deep to find the land, which is quite amazing. Plus, Growth Spiral was usually was a pretty bad top deck, whereas this is actually a pretty good top deck. So just a simple upgrade like this radically improved the power of the deck. A few of the things the deck does do is it does have a copy of Omnath. A lot of them will have more, but you at least want one copy of this that you can bring to light to if you're only at 5 lands. It's a high value card. It can stabilize the game. It can be a threat depending on the matchup. Me personally, I like running Old Faithful Jace the Mind Sculptor. Most of the versions of the list in the modern day have moved away from this and started playing the One Ring. And the One Ring is a better card in a lot of cases, but there's a lot of things I like about Jace the Mind Sculptor. One is you have a minimum number of mountains in the deck, and if you draw too many of them, sometimes the Scapeshift line doesn't work as well. So being able to put mountains back in the deck and the Valakut back in the deck, which is usually a bad draw in your hand, is really nice. Jace can also interact with the board over multiple turns and can eventually win the game. But the main reason is I'm playing an old sideboard strategy using this card, Madcap Experiment. If you're not familiar with this card on its own is actually pretty bad. It says you reveal cards from top of your library until you hit an artifact, put it on the battlefield, and then you lose life for each card you revealed. Or it deals damage to you. But now that's not very good. Whoops. But this card is the only artifact we're going to hit because it's going to be the only artifact in the deck. And it hits the battlefield first because you go in the order the card says, and then your life total doesn't change. Interesting note is shock lands and fetch lands just don't work with this card, so you cannot shock for untapped. You cannot use your fetch lands, so keep that in mind if you choose to play this. This helps you beat matchups that are also pretty hard, like Burn, sometimes Affinity, maybe not Affinity, but certain aggro decks that can't kill this. You can sneak it in game 2 and then you get a free win. So that was one of the reasons I didn't want to play the One Ring, because it kind of throws this off. Plus, I just like Jace as a card. Another card I decided to try out that I'm not fully sold on yet is Invert Polarity from the new set. This card has a crazy ceiling floor difference. The worst case is it's kind of a bad cancel, which isn't the worst floor, but the ceiling is so amazing. I might need to play this card a little bit more, but I did have to make some room for it, and so I ended up cutting Teferi, which was probably incorrect, but yeah, I had to find room for it. I am still playing a Prismatic Ending over Leyline Binding. Some decks play both. A lot of them do, but Leyline Binding sometimes is a bit of a liability. There's a lot of mainboard Boseijus, and I like the efficiency of Prismatic Ending. I'm still rocking the Renin sixes, even though I don't like this card on its own. But because we're playing Planar Genesis now, I went back to Snapcaster Mage. I love Snapcaster Mage. It's kind of empowered out of Modern, but man, it is an old favorite of mine, and I think it's pretty good with this new set. Another MH3 card I'm playing sideboard, just in case I ran into Eldrazi, was Consigned to Memory. I think this card has a lot of potential, but I don't know exactly what I want to do with it yet. It can counter Urza Saga activations, and I don't know. We'll see. The other single card I'm playing is Wrath of the Skies. This is kind of in the slot with Engineered Explosives, but that's an artifact, so I can't play that. Plus, I think this card in some cases could be better, but I don't know. I'm not really using energy, so maybe that's just not true. But yeah, for that part, the deck is pretty much straightforward. I'm going to be showing you my rounds. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't by this point. Okay, here at round one, I am on the draw because I am an unlucky person. And I remember seeing mostly people I'm like, friends there with, not like personal friends in my life, but just people I see at the local game store a lot. And at day one, not a lot of people were able to get all the singles they need. So it's not going to be a lot of the completely new brews that you've been seeing during the sort of the pre-release era of the event. So I don't know what my opponent's playing. There's probably a lot of homebrews. I see Ragavan off of a Sacred Foundry, and I have no idea what this is representing. I've never seen this situation before. My first thought is maybe it's like Burn with Ragavan, although I don't know if that's really a thing. I don't have it. It's pretty obvious that I do not have a Prismatic Ending, which I would have loved to see here. The worst case scenario for me is that they hit my one of Scapeshift, which is one of the reasons I kind of wanted to play 2 copies and always did in my old versions. But I had to make room for things, and most of them only played the one. So when they hit my one of, actually, that happened in a tournament I was covering. It was Blue Red Murktide versus Spring Delight Scapeshift. This was in 2021. And that exact thing happened. They had one Scapeshift in their deck, Ragavan hit him and exiled it. And I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. So a turn 2 Renin 6 here that doesn't really bother me. Renin 6 is not itself a clock. It's very more of a grindy mid-range card that lets him keep hitting his land drops, which is good for him. But I'm really just trying to get to a point and play a single spell that wins the game. So ultimately, the grindiness of Renin 6 isn't really an issue for me at the moment because I'm not just trying to run him out of cards. I'm not trying to win that way. But the Ragavan I am concerned with because it's going to generate advantage quickly and it's going to overwhelm me and still is a clock. Worst case scenario for me is that he doesn't hit a spell that he cares off mine and just accelerates his mana into his good spells. So not looking good for me here. I'm thinking that now that I've seen the colors, I'm thinking it's probably some kind of mid-range deck that's just playing high-quality cards. Hitting a land is probably exactly what I wanted to see here. It looks like I have at least 3 lands in my hand. Oof. So, didn't want to draw that. So sometimes, thank you, Ragavan. It's kind of like the old Goblin Guide hits. Okay, so when he played this card, I remember thinking, I have no idea what he's up to. At the moment, the very first moment I saw Haywire Might, I didn't immediately think this, but I quickly was thinking, okay, Haywire Might has to mean he's on some kind of Urza Saga, which makes sense seeing the Renin 6. So with Urza Saga, Renin 6, and Ragavan, I'm thinking it must be kind of like Jund Saga, but instead of Jund, it's Naya. And so if I'm thinking it's Naya, it would be very reasonable to conclude he's playing Stoneforge Mystic. Now, again, I don't remember thinking that at the very first moment, but I also remember that the person I was playing against, I've seen this guy play Stoneforge Mystic decks a lot, although that was not a thought I was having at the moment, and it had been a while since I had played Constructed. My hand is Remand, Fire Ice, 3 lands, and 1 other card I can't quite see. His hand is Double Solitude. Oh, my other card is Invert Polarity and Supreme Verdict. So, little clunky. I don't really like drawing the Supreme Verdict. I decide to Arc Fire and kill his 2 creatures, a nice little 2-for-1, although taking out Haywire Might's kind of meaningless. Another reason I didn't like Leyline Binding, that Haywire Might and the Ren and 6 on a Boseiju or something would have made Leyline Bindings really bad. So, yeah. Leyline Binding, I think, is a good card, but it does come with liabilities, whereas Prismatic Ending is just nice, clean, efficient. Okay, it looks like my opponent does have Stoneforge in their hand, if I can tell right. Can't quite tell. I believe that is their only land, so the Ren and 6 is pulling his weight. Yeah, Solitude. I think it's double Solitude, maybe double Stoneforge. So plenty of gas for going long. I think to myself, the worst card he could probably get here for me is, I guess, just Cauldron Complete because it can race. And he needs to kill me as fast as he can. He's definitely the beatdown here. I think I'm sitting here thinking I have Invert Polarity mana. And I'm like, well, if I steal this spell, it's not really that good for me. But I do just need to stop it. So I think that's what I decide to do. Like, stealing Stoneforge Mystic isn't amazing. I'd rather be stealing cards like the One Ring or opposing Planeswalkers, stuff like that. But, I should just use my mana. These are the moments where I'm not sure how to feel about Invert Polarity. Like, I guess the cool thing about it in the deck like this is I clearly have a plan, and Invert Polarity is in just a hard counterspell slot, which the deck doesn't really need that. It'd probably be better as another spell that's more efficient. Even just playing counterspell would be better. So I probably just wouldn't play counterspell in that slot. But the fact that in certain situations, it's like this one card is like its own plan that just can crazy switch the tempo of a match. That potential... And I lost the die roll, by the way. That potential just seems like it has so much upside. I wanted to try it. I think I need a little more experience with it before I make any final decisions. My opponent is threatless. I don't really consider Ren and 6 a threat. So this does favor me, although my hand is not super good. Remand. Oh, I found a Planar Genesis. Okay, that I do like to see. I feel like Planar Genesis is just always gas. Straight gas. It can situationally help me find money. Ooh, Jace the Mind Sculpt off the top with 4 mana. That's probably the right play here. It doesn't seem like my opponent can efficiently punish it. Even a Hasty Ragavan can't kill it, but Ragavan plus Ren and 6 tick down does kill it. All right, so I reveal land, another Planar Genesis, and another Planar Genesis off the Brainstorm. So not terrible draws. I have 2 mountains in my hand. I have a Stomping Ground and a Steam Vents. I definitely need to keep one of them. Looks like I put back Supreme Verdict. Oh, look at that. Jace fixing the clunky hand. So I have 2 more Planar Genesis in my hand, which is excellent. They can either be ramp or find me spells I need. That card is so good with Snapcaster Mage too. I did like how the deck was starting to feel. One thing I was worried about is that the mana would be kind of awkward, but it looks like it's working out pretty well. I haven't even played a Ren and 6. It's like a single fetch land and my mana's fine, So feeling pretty good. My opponent has hit all their land drops. They have 2 treasures. The Ren and 6 is actually getting close to ultimate, which is normally scary, but my opponent hasn't played any instant sorceries, so I mean, it's not that scary, I guess. I saw a double Solitude in their hand, so I'm not sure if they're playing something that he could retrace. Of course, me in the tournament at this moment, I don't know. That's what he has in his hand. I don't really know what to expect. A Stoneforge Mystic deck, probably not likely to play a bunch of instants and sorceries if it's Naya. But it seems like Red and 6 probably isn't really in there to ultimate. It's in there to rebuy Urza Sagas and utility lands like that. These new Surveil lands pulling their weight. They are pretty strong. They're basically a spell. It's kind of like what people said about the Scrylands. It was like playing half a spell, basically. All right, so I'm going into my turn 5. I decide to upkeep before I cast this Planar Genesis because I don't want either of the top 2 cards of my library from the Jace Brainstorm. I didn't have a way to shuffle. So this is like a quasi-shuffle. I do have to invest the mana, but still pretty sweet, right? Like imagine if this was just a growth spiral. So I see 2 lands and another Planar Genesis. Oof. So if I can just put a land on the battlefield, accelerate me, probably putting that Triumph because it has to come in tapped anyway. I imagine. Yes, that's what I do. Now remember, this is my upkeep, so I still get to draw a card and play a land. So that'll put me at 6 lands, which means one more turn. If I can find, I still have 2 more. Oh, I already have Bring to Light. All right, so I pretty much have everything. I have Answers, I have Dig, I have Ramp. So I think the best play here is to play a land, I guess tapped. Oh yeah, I guess use Jace. I would think I was thinking about Fate Sealing with Jace, but I was like, nah, he has a bunch of mana, he has a bunch of cards in his hand. Dryad's a fine pickup, but I don't think I like tapping out for it. What I'd rather do here is he clearly hard casts a Culture Complete. Wait, can he? 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now he'd be 1 short. He's 1 short of casting a Stoneforge and hard casting Culture Complete. But what I could do here is play my land, and now I'm representing Remand if I really need to use it, or in step Planar and get to 7, untap, kill you. Not that that's necessary, because Jace can just probably find me the land. I could just play it as my land drop. So hardcast Solitude onto an empty board smells like desperation. Opponent's not having the best curve of draws here. Or his spells he's drawing just aren't lining up really well against my strategy, which I like quite a lot. Urza Saga would be much scarier if it was on turn 2. Thinking about cards my opponent could have. Oh, this is just screaming, please remand me. So he found the Culture Complete, which normally would be a fine draw here, but we're so late in the game, and it's just way too late for that. Now, my opponent going up to above 18 life is relevant. He decides to just take up Wrenn 6 on nothing because he played Urza Saga as his land for turn. All right, well, so that life gain is a problem. But I have a lot of gas, so I may not be able to win this turn, but I think I have enough resources to win this game in the next turn. Because when you get to 8 lands, you just go get 2 Valakut, and instead of 18 damage, it's 36. You just double the damage. And he's nowhere near 36. I guess I was considering an upkeep. I was like, wait, I know what my top card is. So as long as I hit land here, I do win the game. That is a land. That's also a land. So all the resources I need, I decided to just take Valakut. So that's my 7th land, and then my land for turn will be my 8th land, and then I cast Bring to Light. I do have to shock this, though, because I need 5 mana. But I'm at 11, plenty of life to play a shock land untapped, and I have 4 colors with that Triome or the, I'm not sure which, is that Ragrin? Yeah, so I have 2 white sources, so plenty of mana. So usually here, they're just like, hey, show it to me. I put Bring to Light on the stack. We're discussing it. So I just got to show him the Scapeshift and then show him Valakut and 6 other mountains. And I have 3 mountains on the battlefield. I don't know if I have any in my hand. But if I didn't have enough in the library, I could leave 1 mountain and it would just be it would be 33 damage. Like still plenty of damage. But I do have 6 mountains. So I show my opponent and they scoop it up here. It should be good enough. Traditional good old Scapeshift win. I do like a winning. So for game number 2, looks like my opponent kept a 6-card hand, so they mulligan 1 time. No Ragavan on the play. I love to see that. Wasn't sure if my opponent was playing a Dragon's Rage channel. I don't think so. A little bit, well, I guess this deck could play that, but probably not necessary. I don't think it's like a swords deck. Turn 2 Stoneforge used to be one of the strongest plays you could do in this game. But we have come quite a ways since then. Even in Legacy, this was one of the strongest things you could do. But it was a menace in Standard. It was eventually got banned. Pre-banned in Modern. Pre-banned. And when I say pre-banned, I don't know if it was a launch ban, although I think it was. But it was at least banned before Pro Tour Philadelphia, which was the first Modern Pro Tour ever. So someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I know it was effectively a pre-ban at the minimum. That Culture Complete is going to be a clock. That is a lot of damage, and it is very hasty. So best case for me here is if I can kill that Stoneforge. I do have a lot of ways. I don't remember, however, if I board out Fire Ice. Fire Ice seems pretty good against them. Looks like I kept in Remand. Oh, I have a Prismatic Ending. Ooh, yes. That's what I want to see.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Just so efficient. Just boom, boom. You play your dude. I pay the same amount of mana, and you lose your card. Basically, no matter what the card is. So good. Second Stoneforge, not good for me. So now he gets another card in his hand, and he still has the ability to put that Cauldron into play the next turn, but I'm at least buying time, which is, you'll notice a lot of the cards, I mean, there's a control-y element to it, but they're very tempo-y. They're buying time, they're efficient, and that's cards like Remand is their traditional tempo control card. But, yeah, that Cauldron Complete is going to start beating me down. Ooh, the new Jite. I have not played against this card yet, so I don't really know what to think of it. It makes sense seeing this, because there's Urza Saga. If it's strong enough for Urza Saga, I don't know. My opponent's probably doing the same thing I am, which is experimenting, and this is the time to do that. The metagame is not defined as we speak. There are some new decks that are establishing themselves, like Ruby Storm and the Phyrexian Tower Black Chthonian Nightmare deck. There's a red-white energy deck, most of it from Aspiring Spike. There's a couple different Eldrazi, the aggro version. So there are some decks, but I don't know if we can say, they're mostly brews that are being experimented with, so we can't really say there's a metagame at this event, which is the Tuesday release of Modern Horizons 3. So I have 3 mana. I am representing Invert Polarity again. Hopefully my opponent plays a spell that would be worth stealing. Would be nice. But I imagine my opponent's just going to activate Stoneforge, which I cannot steal the ability. Still quite bad for me. So worst case here would be if my opponent plays a Wrenn 6 and then... See, Wrenn 6, Urza Saga, activate Stoneforge for Culture Complete. That's like the worst, like, that's a lot of pressure. Under pressure. And I'm only at 3 lands, and I don't really have a lot going on, so probably could not beat that sequence of plays. But even if that's worst case scenario, if I hit some good top decks, then I can maybe, so like if I hit another Prismatic Ending, I can Ending the Germ. And that, for the most part, deals with Cauldron Complete, at least for quite a while. And then what would I want? Just a bunch of Planar Genesis, I guess. Jace the Mind Sculptor on the Germ is also not bad, but untapping with it's unlikely if he has Wrenn 6. Okay, it looks like he's just putting it into play. That's good for me. Well, I mean, it's bad for me. Very bad.
I'm in danger.
But it's good that it wasn't the line I said, because that line would have been way worse. All right, so take 5. I am at 12. There's a few times, if I remember right, that I may have confused some of the life totals with like fetches and a few dings. So you may notice that, but I don't think it affected the outcome of any of the games if the life total isn't quite accurate on your screen there. But hitting my land drops. Oh, I found it. We did it. We did it, boys. Oh, that's a card. Okay, so I have a Remand, which means I am killing the Germ token. So that's good for me. But that card, I have to know that's there, because that basically invalidates a Scapeshift. So he goes, I have hexproof. I put all my targets on stack. He goes, I have hexproof. Counter all your targets, all your triggers. Very bad for me. So I have to remember that card, which I think I don't remember it. So there's like a moment where I kind of have a long turn. I'm thinking a lot. I'm kind of in the tank, and I forget about that card, because that's one of the things about Remand is they don't lose the spell. They do keep the spell. All right, there's Jite. Jite can start doing things. I'm like reading it. I'm like, this card exists, I guess. Have not played against it before. Not sure how good or lack thereof it is. Ooh, it looks my opponent has a Batter Skull, the original OP mythic living weapon. That was also the menace and probably got Stoneforge banned in Standard. It was probably this card here. Culture Complete does seem to have overshined it, but it still has a place. In fact, it might be better in this particular game because even if I can deal with the germ and kill the creatures, it represents longevity threat. But yeah, that give yourself hexproof card. I forget the name off my head. That card is very good against my deck. There's one that gave you hexproof and gain 2 life with rebound. That's all play when Valakut was pretty popular. All right, going into my turn 5, I have not cast a lot of spells. What have I cast? I cast 2 prismatic endings and a remand. And I'm still halfway dead. So we're talking about, I think we're trying to figure out if I'm at the right life total. If I remember this, I don't remember. So Omnath is actually an excellent draw for me. I like that quite a bit. Quite a bit. Oh, and Fetchland? Ooh. Okay, I think that's why we were deliberating the life total, because I must have asked, hey, am I actually at this? Am I supposed to be at 13, 11, whatever it is? And I think we figured it out, but because if I was going to be gaining life, I want to make sure I'm at the right life total. The question here is, I'm not playing quickly because I have an interesting line here, which is I can pass the turn, and then if I fetch my land on his turn, I gain 4 life. Instead of if I fetch it right now, I gain 4 mana. So I'm looking at my hand. I'm like, okay, I need to think ahead. If he's going to be attacking me and do this, and he's going to be gaining life, and what's the right play here? So I'm looking at my hand. I see my options. I think I may have made some sideboard errors. I don't remember if it was this game and this round, but there's like a few rounds where I take Valky out, and I'm like, that was probably wrong. It's like right here, Valky would be pretty good. The thing is, I'm supposed to know, this might be the long-term moment, I'm supposed to know that he has that hexproof card. So if I were to bring to light, get Valky, minus on your Battle Skull, he could go, oh, it has hexproof. And that would just hose me. So that's what a good player would do. However, me, I do something here. And it's obviously not Scapeshift. It's obviously not Omnath either. What am I getting? I don't remember. Okay, I think I know what it is. I think I know what I'm doing. So I'm like, no, I think I have to get that, don't I? Because it's Misty Rainforest, can't get. Okay, I wanted white mana, sure. So I have to shock here. So I should be at 12. Good. Okay. And I'm probably just casting Bring to Light if I'm getting it untapped, I imagine. I think I was thinking if I want to play Planar Genesis and get something else or whatever. But if I'm already getting it untapped, I think I know. Yeah, I see. We're just making sure the life totals are correct. So this long turn, or this long moment of the turn, if I remember right, I think I get something. I don't remember if it was good, but I think it was a mistake because it took so long. I forgot about that hexproof card, and then I get gotted. Oh man, I'm really like not sure if this is the right play, but I have to make my play. So I do cast Bring to Light. It's for 4 colors, and my opponent's just like, yeah, all right, but they are holding up a mana. It's a fetch land though, so maybe it's not as obvious, but Force of Vigor. So that would be a good play here. Kill your other two equipment. Takes the germ out. He would have enough mana to equip Battle Skull on Stoneforge though, which is still a good play. Yeah, just to make sure I don't have any other options. I think I took Valky out. That was probably a mistake. Yeah, so I get Force of Vigor, which seems like a fine play, but my opponent, I'm supposed to know this. My opponent has hexproof card, so terrible play by me. Just the game's difficult, okay? So I mess up there, and what I probably should have done, I either probably should have just passed and left the land there and gained life, or I could Planar Genesis and try and hit maybe a prismatic ending or something, and then save it. That's not very good either. I probably just shouldn't have Bring to Light. I've already got Omnath in play. I can, the life gain is like a mini fog, and it just buys me so much time. I guess the good news is it made him use it, right? So he used the card, and now it's gone. Although I know he plays the cards, I have to keep that in mind for Scapeshift reasons. And I probably should be thinking in my mind, okay, do I have backup plans if Scapeshift isn't going to work? So he equips the Jitte, hits me for 4. Gaining 4 is a problem too, so now I'm going to probably double Valakut to kill him. Jitte, it's like put a +1 counter, untap a land or creature is unblockable for the turn. Oh, Alpine Moon. So it's a little off camera there, but Alpine Moon, he obviously names Valakut. Valakut does not have any abilities now. And a Tarmogoyf. What a card. Tarmogoyf. In the land of the Nethergoyf, is Tarmogoyf still good enough?
Is it too much to ask for both?
So it's not looking great, although I have this planar Genesis, which is, you know, like when you have gas in your hand, this is like super gas. Stealing Tarmogoyf would have been amazing, although I obviously didn't have the mana. Yeah, stealing Tarmogoyf with Invert Polarity would have been awesome. Okay, so what we checked out there is since it has no abilities, that includes coming to play tapped. So Valakut does not come to play tapped, and it can tap for any color, but has no other abilities. So Scapeshift does not work because Valakut does not work. I mean, Scapeshift works, but you know the point does not work. And okay, I cast my Genesis, probably looking for a spell here. I find a Genesis, a land, and a Bring Delight. Okay, Bring Delight is good, and it's probably what I get. The problem is I cannot cast it this turn because I only have 4 mana, and I've already played my land, and it was not a fetch land, so Omnath gives me no mana. So things not looking super good.
I'm in danger.
He has a lot of attack power. I think find a Renin 6. Oh, I must find Renin 6 for my draw step. Is Renin 6 good here? Already played my land. I was like, oh, just kidding. Maybe leaving up Invert Polarity is better. Yeah. Okay, no, I guess I do play it. I can't. No, I can't tap that. That's a bad tap. Do I catch it? I may not catch it. I have the ability to do it. I need to tap the Steam Vents. Just pretend I tapped the Steam Vents. I don't think either of us caught that. I don't think it ultimately makes a difference in the turn cycle. But that combination of tap does not cast Renin 6. It does not. Did I return a land? Yeah, I returned Misty. Okay. So you at spectating, just pretend it was a Steam Vents. If I tap, wait, do I have? I don't have Invert Polarity mana. So I actually have no spells here, so the mana doesn't really mean anything. But if it matters in competitive REL, which it does, this is not competitive. Here I'm representing double red. If that could mean anything, which I am not allowed to represent as the board looks. So I made an oopsie.
Whoopsie.
A judge would just say you can't tap that way. It'd be a GRV, is that what they call it? Game rules violation? It's just like a warning, say, hey, don't do it wrong. But I don't have any spells I could cast here that I would cast. But my opponent's looking, he's like, what do I do? Probably don't want to bother attacking Renin 6 at this point. Omnath is a decent blocker, but with the Jitte can kind of mess up blocking math. I don't think my opponent... Oh, my opponent played a Renin 6 a little off camera there. I think I just mentioned that, so we're going to scooch it all over. Neither of us caught that tapping mistake. I was like thinking so much about that planar Genesis, I didn't notice it, but anyway. So my opponent has a lot of permanents, has an attack force. Tarmogoyf's only a 3/4 because there is no Urza Saga in the graveyard. There aren't any creatures in the graveyard either. Interesting. So Tarmogoyf not too big. The Germ token is a problem. I think I've already kind of decided that I am going to be going scape shifting with 8 lands, but I have to find an answer to this Alpine Moon anyway. So the video file was so long that it had split itself into two. But we're back, and opponent's still kind of in the tank, trying to figure out what we're gonna do. If I remember right, yeah, I think there was some moving around of things. I'm pretty sure my opponent has no cards in hand, and if they get a card in hand, it would just be a Ren and 6, like the land from Ren and 6. So a lot of tanking, which is part of the reason, like it's a lot of complicated decisions with these like board stalls and stuff. So part of the reason why mistakes like the mistap happens. Trying to remember. No, I don't think I had any mana off Omnath. I'm pretty sure I just mistapped my lands. Still on that, yes. All right, so I think if I remember right, maybe I can skip ahead a little bit. Yep, there we go. So an attack with Goyf, probably also the token has vigilance because of the equipment. I think I decide to just take the damage. At most, it's 8, which would not kill me. And I'm like, I'd rather have this Omnath in play because I can gain another 4. My opponent can untap 2 lands. That doesn't really mean anything. I believe, I don't remember because this game there's a lot going on, but I think my opponent plussed on the Heath and played Heath and has no cards in hand. So I think that's the current state of things. Okay, I'm untapping, so the mistap didn't affect the outcome of the game. Not that that's not important because you shouldn't do that, but if you catch your opponent doing that, just call judge or let them know and they can fix it. This is just our local weekly easy mistake. I have some tools. I have options. Whether or not I need the mana is unclear. I could buy myself at least another turn. I have Anger of the Gods, which does not look good here. Not liking that I brought that card in. I have a Bring to Light, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, which is not enough. Or lands, rather. I have more than mana than that because of Omnath. Looks like I'm using the Omnath mana now. So what is my plan here? What did I do? Not sure I remember. Oh, okay. I think I just get Supreme Verdict because he's got a lot of creatures. I don't want him getting past 36 because then I got to go to even more lands to kill him, which is doable. It's just, annoying. So if I Supreme Verdict here, my opponent has no cards and just Ren 6, basically. I think even though it kills my Omnath, I think it's worth it. I've got plenty of lands. I've got Ren and 6 to keep hitting the land drops. So it's probably worth it. So my opponent's like, yep, Supreme Verdict. Although Batterskull does represent a sort of long-term consistent threat, so I do have to keep that in mind. But I have Jace the Mind Sculptor in my hand, so Batterskull not really. I think I have Jace. So Batterskull can deal with Germ Token pretty easily. But he does have 3 mana now, so he could, if he wanted to, spend the 3 mana, bounce Batterskull. Which it looks like that's what he's doing. Nope, maybe not. Oh, you have to fetch. I don't suppose he's out of fetchables. That wouldn't make sense. Okay, so Supreme Verdict resolves. And that's really all I... Wait, if I have Jace in my hand, that means I should activate or play Jace, right? Maybe I don't have Jace in my hand. Okay, no, I don't know why I thought I had Jace. Okay, no Jace. I have Invert Polarity, though. Oh, man. So if he, bounces Batterskull, casts it, I'm like, that's mine. Thanks for the lifelink. That'd be amazing. Okay. He decides to surveil instead of bouncing the Batterskull. And so I don't know if that's because there's just no untap lands left in his deck to fetch for, or he just didn't want to, or he didn't think about it. I'm sure there's a reason. So how much mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 mana with Ren 6. Oh, he could make more mana with the Jitte. Okay. So he could do it anyway. Okay, so I guess that was his plan. He's like, I just want to surveil my draw step because with the Jitte charge counters, he has enough mana to do it in one turn. And he's got enough mana next turn to equip that. Please steal it. Oh, you can tell I'm excited. I'm like, but this would make me love the card. This would make me love the card. Well, at least I got rid of it. See, like I said, the floor's not that bad. But would that have been amazing? Wouldn't that have been amazing? All right. So, anyway, I think I am now clearly in the driver's seat. The Ren 6 Ultimate, not super scary. I guess it would be bad for him to loop the Hexproof card. That'd be kind of bad. But we're still pretty far away from it. Ooh, Jace, one of the best top decks. So it'd be like if I drew the one, if this was the One Ring, which is they kind of occupy the same slot. The One Ring would be really good in most other scenarios, especially when he has a big attack force. But Jace draws me 3 new cards right now. The One Ring does it over 2 turns. The One Ring starts hurting my life total. If he plays a creature, Jace can deal with it if it has to. So, that right there is an answer. That right there is an answer to Alpine Moon. It is the new card, Wrath of the Skies. While it appears to be an energy deck style card, it can kind of just operate as a sort of an engineered explosives effects that doesn't require multiple colors, even though I have the multiple colors, but I do not play engineered explosives for the reasons I mentioned. Although engineered explosives can hit planeswalkers, I think, and this card cannot, if I remember right. Re-engineered. Looks like I'm only going to do it for 1 mana because I can't hit the Ren 6 anyway. And I have my own Ren 6. Not land permanent. Okay, so engineered is better in that sense. It could hit things like Ren 6. But that white card is pretty good. Also, so one place that Wrath of Skies is better is that it can kill Urza Saga, and engineered cannot. So that is a thing. Also, engineered, if I remember right. So these are actually quite different cards. I shouldn't be comparing them too much, but engineered is equal to. Whereas I think Wrath of the Skies is equal to or less, right? Yeah. So they're actually kind of they're pretty different cards. It's hard to compare them as like one is better than the other because they're so different. The mana rate's kind of the same, but you can play an engineered explosives in a situation where you're keeping your permanents and killing theirs because it's exactly this number. Whereas if you make your skies big enough, it kills everything. Okay, Lava Spur Boots is a good card, but it's a little late, but it is a cheaper way to get haste than that Culture Complete there. And Ragavan can normally have haste, but now you don't have to spend the mana. Camera a little wobbly because it's mounted to the table and we're hitting the table, but okay, so this represents 3 damage. He could hit me and steal a card, hopefully not my Scapeshift, or he could kill Jace. I think if I remember right, he's like, I think I'm gonna attack you because I am at 7. And I'm like, you know what? I remember what my top. I was thinking if I could wanted to fetch here, and I'm like, wait, I know what my top card is, right? Because of Jace. You can actually have it. There's Anger of the Gods. Totally fine with him having that card. So another cool thing that Jace can do that the ring cannot do is it can protect sort of your important cards that you don't want to get Thoughtseize or something out of your hand or griefed. So if I have that one of, if I have a Bring to Light in my hand or some payoff card, and I need to Jace and wait a turn. For decks that can attack my hand, I could just like tuck it away on the top of the library, which is an old brainstorm trick from Legacy. Like you can protect your show and tell combo, and if they're thought seizing you or something. So what's happening here? It's my turn. I'm revealing Bring the Light for the win. For the win. All right, let's go on to round 2. All right, here in round 2, I'm on the draw again, and my opponent mulligans to 6 cards, and I mulligan to 5 cards. So seems like not a great start. And my opponent reveals Kira, which means almost certainly some kind of control deck, probably blue-white. So that's really bad for me because they just probably need to stop. Well, I was going to say they only need to stop one big payoff card, but Jace is kind of a problem. Like you can't just let him have a Jace. He can't just let me have an Omnath. They should have plenty of answers for cards like that. The bigger problem for me is the card Teferi Time Reveler. Teferi Time Reveler means that not Scapeshift. Teferi Time Reveler means that Bring to Light does not work. And that has always been a problem for a Bring to Light deck. Still is. Planar Genesis helps a little bit. You can just dig to just cast the natural Scapeshift. Like the card Scapeshift still works. I just can't cheat it out with Bring to Light. So my hand is Remand, Planar Genesis, Wrenn and 6. Wrenn and 6 is a problem for him. Fire Ice, Lands. It's actually a pretty good hand. Yeah. So it looks like I'm going to shortcut here to play Wrenn and 6. I like fetched in response to my fetch, play land. Yeah, you can't actually do that, but these are shortcuts that are actually generally considered acceptable. They're not really changing the game. Okay, so we're talking here. I said, I'm going to cast Wrenn and 6. He says, okay, and then I'm going to activate it because I get priority first. And he says, okay, in response, I'm going to Leyline Binding. I'm like, yes, all that happens. So I still get to hit. The good news is I get to hit my 3rd land drop. I have a Planar Genesis in my hand. I also have Ice. So, I've got, this is a pretty good 5-card hand, I got to admit. All right, and I draw another land, so I'm going to hit my land drops. I've got all the good early spells, except for I guess I don't have Prismatic Ending, but it's not particularly good right here, although it'd be good if he finds it fairy. And he's reading the new card. This is the card. Card of the day. It is quite fun. Let's see. Not a lot of good cards here, actually. I'll either take Omnath or land. Looks like I decided to take the land, which means it goes right into the battlefield, which is absolutely amazing. So I effectively just play a Growth Spiral. The one thing that Growth Spiral is better at this situations is it puts the land in untap, so you can like on your turn Growth Spiral, put a land in it, and then play another spell using the mana. It's like that's the one corner case where Growth Spiral is better. But Growth Spiral triggers Bowmasters and all that. Yes, Planar Genesis is a vastly superior card, and I'm loving it. All right, so I have white mana, so now I have all my colors. And so the question is, what do I do on my turn? My opponent looks like they missed their land drop, right? Yeah, my opponent misses land drop, which means his hand is all spells. Missing their land drop is good for me, but having a bunch of spells for control deck, which means a bunch of answers, is bad for me. It's like, what do? Do I just run out a Jace into a counterspell? And the answer is clearly no. Finding Jace is good, but I have double remand, so maybe on a turn where I have 6 mana, I can protect Jace, and if Jace resolves, I'm in much better shape. I'm looking at his colors. I'm like, okay, so it looks like I'm going to ice on his end step. He finds land, so we just land go, control deck. I ice on his lands, mostly just a cycle, but a little bit fewer lands. So a lot of land go action. I think ultimately this will favor my deck, although in this specific situation it might not, because I'm down on cards compared to him. So I will have enough mana here to go Jace plus Remand backup, but is that good enough? Is that good enough? Now, if this were the ring, would this be better? I don't know. In the face of a Leyline Binding, I think the answer is yes. This would be better than the One Ring in the face of a Leyline Binding, which I'm going to assume my opponent can have. So Remand is good against Like if he just goes tap out or force negation or something. Actually, maybe not force negation hit, but maybe counterspell. Looks like he does not counterspell. All right, so Valky, not a particularly great draw here. I could probably cast it next turn. I could use that Misty to go get Xander's Lounge. Okay, binding number 2. That is not a good remand target, so I'm going to do that. So having my own bindings could interact with his bindings, but I just don't like it. I do not like that very much. So my opponent gets one of the powerful Surveil lands. I did consider playing that in my deck, but I have to play tap lands in the form of these triomes, and I don't want to have that many come into play tapped lands. They're a little bit of a liability, although they're pretty good hitting off of Planar Genesis, I'll admit that. So maybe 1 or 2 wouldn't be the worst. Okay, my opponent has main board Wrath of the Skies and decides to bin it because it is not good against my deck. Smart play by my opponent. Oh, it looks like there's subtlety. So my opponent does have subtlety. Okay, so I found a Snapcaster Mage, which is making that Planar Genesis look even better. Man, that is a sweet card. It's weird because it looks so basic. Like Impulse has been around for a while. So it's just like an Impulse was time. But the fact that like if it could put the land on the battlefield is just so good. Ooh, I nat drew a Scapeshift. Now that is good. So I have a Scapeshift here. My opponent has 5 mana. So it's probably not super safe to go for it in 5 open mana when I would only have enough mana to play 1 remand. But I do have Snapcaster Mage. So I could replay it if it gets countered. Unless it gets Force Negation, then I... Okay, End of Turn Solitude is actually kind of annoying because the lifelink puts him over 18. But I get to cycle... Oh, okay. So there was a mistake here. It's kind of funny. Making all kinds of mistakes. You can clearly tell I have not played this for a while. The card I drew for the turn was Force of Vigor. That's a sideboard card. So I looked over and I count my sideboard, and there's only 14 cards. I'm like, okay, I didn't make a wrong substitution. I just didn't take it out. So I tell them, I'm like, it's funny because this would actually be a really good card here for me. So you can know I'm not cheating. So we decided to solve it ourselves. I move it out and draw the other card for remand. So I don't have a Force of Negation in my hand. I drew a card. I'm like, oh, that's not right. I don't know that that's how a competitive REL would resolve that situation. It might be game loss. Like I don't know. But I called myself on it. Okay, so this is still my turn, I guess. No, this is his instep. So he tried to instep me Solitude. I said remand, and then I said go. Right? Okay, I got a little lost thinking about that turn, but anyway. I am doing the Snap Genesis plan. I'm just not certain whose turn it is. I'm assuming it's his instep. He has a bunch of open mana. He decides to let all of that happen. Guess he just wants to stop the payoff cards, which is fair. Invoke Polarity. Ooh, I like that. So as much as I would love to just jam a Scapeshift here, it just still seems too risky. It's my 1 Scapeshift. If he exiles it, I am in big trouble. So I could go for second Jace, which I would fight over. Oh, and he bought a Kahira earlier. So I'm saying, okay, how many cards do I know you have? And he's like, I have those 2. I'm like, okay, cool. So it looks like I'm setting up to cast Jace, which I would fight over, but if I was to fight, it's something of the world. He still does not want this to happen. Like Jace is a threat too. Like it just serves so many purposes. Subtlety is threatening to take Jace, and I have Invert Polarity, and this would be a fine target. It's not a great target, but it gives me a 3/3 flyer. It's like it's fine. Remand is not great though because if he has another blue card in his hand, he could just evoke it, which is not amazing. But if that were to happen, I would probably just put Jace on top, right? It looks like I'm going to do Invert Polarity though. So I do need double red, which means I have to shock here. A little annoying, but it's a control deck. My life total's not like super, super low. I'm not like in the 4 or 3 range. So I have enough life to still fetch a little bit. All right. Here goes nothing. Oh. I look disappointed. Man, 0 for 2. That should have been so sweet. I could have put him on a mini clock. I'd have 5 power plus a Jace. It's weird because I'm supposed to be this linear just try to get Scapeshift hand, and he's losing to my like Jace the Mind Scapeshift hand, yeah. And he's losing to my Jace the Mind Sculptors and invert polarities. Get in there, Snapcaster Mage. Get in there. We could get to a point where Jace bounces Snapcaster, get really grindy. Okay, so Prismatic Ending takes out Jace. Perfectly reasonable play. But now my opponent is tapped down, so it's basically force or bust. The problem with force negation, though, is Remand is not very good against that card. It's awkward. I said, yeah, I'm just going to go for it. And he has nothing. He has nothing. Okay, I believe we both keep a 7-card hand, if I remember right. Am I a 7-card hand? Looks actually pretty... No, I mulligan. That's right. I did mulligan. I think my opponent kept 7. Not certain. I put a Triumph on the bottom and top deck a Triumph. How about that? So I have a Flusterstorm in my hand. I think a Fire Ice. I kept Fire Ice in. Okay. I guess I didn't have enough to take out. I have a Ren and 6. Okay. Ren and 6 it's weird. Like, this is a situation where Ren and 6 is a kind of a threat. Although it dies pretty easily to Prismatic Ending. Man, Prismatic Ending. What a magic card. I definitely underrated it when it first came out. At this point, what was that, 3 years ago? I have a Scapeshift, Bring to Light, a couple lands, and Ren and 6, and a Fire Ice. Pretty good. Let's see. I do think Veil of Summer is pretty good against him. I'm mostly playing the Flusterstorm because Ral Monsoon Mage is really good and really popular. There was someone there with the deck, although I don't think they were playing in the event this time. Like seeing the hands that the deck has been drawing and seeing how relatively good the mana was, which is one thing I was a little worried about, made me start liking the deck a lot more. Because when you build a deck, you're like, okay, here's the cards I would want to draw at these times. But sometimes when you play it out, it draws like the clunky cards in the wrong order and not early. And that happens to me a lot when I build decks. The way that these games have been playing out is like how I've been envisioning it. It's like, okay, I want to draw this card at this time, this card at this time. It's like it's been happening. Now, I could just be getting lucky. Like my opponent is forcing this Ren 6, but it gets Flusterstormed. Nice little interaction there. Flusterstorm cannot really be countered back, but it didn't really need to be because he had another counter. He could just retarget the Ren 6. So Flusterstorm, pretty nice there. It's basically just a Spell Pierce. A little better than a Spell Pierce, but X was 3. Or he had to pay 3, rather. So Ren 6 putting him on this little... wouldn't really call it a clock, but I would call it... Yeah. So he'll make sure I have a nice, smooth supply of land drops, even though I seem to have quite a few lands in my hand. But the cool thing is Jace can put extra lands back because Ren and 6 will keep the lands coming. Pretty cool. I don't think this ever happened, but Ren 6 can also be a sort of mini card advantage engine by, cycle a Triome, put it back in my hand. It's not very efficient, but it is a thing. So it looks like I am just going to counter his Brain Surge. Ooh, new Modern Horizons 3 card. I don't know why I did that. I think it was just like, well, I've got my mana and I'd like to spend it. Ooh, Veil Summer's a nice top deck here. All right, I have Jace plus Veil backup. Jace meets a counterspell. And it looks like I am going to fight back, but he has 2 extra mana, so that's not good for me. Man, I just want to win one invert polarity flip. Just one. That's all I want. That's not too much to ask for, right? Okay, so I find my second white source. Yep, Tria Triome is Teamer colors. So I say I am doing the thing, and it looks like he has another counterspell too. So he will win this interaction. Um, and I lose my Jace, but he still has my other two permanents to deal with. And he is at one card. That is exactly what I like to see against a control deck. You have one card, and I have more cards than you, and more board presence than you, and more mana, technically, I guess. I mean, he's a turn up, but I'm going to keep hitting my land drops with Ren and 6. So he either draws his land and hits his land drop and doesn't have a spell in his hand, or he draws a spell and misses his land drop. Both are good for me, except for, you know, if the spell is good. I'm saying words. Okay, anyway. Looks like it is Celestial Purge. Interesting. I guess that does take out a Ren and 6. Put Nakira in your hand. Purge the Ren and 6. So what is Purge? It's Ren and 6 and Omnath. Yeah, that's reasonable. Even though I'm only playing the one Omnath, I mean, most lists play 3, so pretty reasonable. Okay, Ren and 6 is down. I have the Snapcaster slowly chipping away at the life total, which is super relevant. I've got a Bring to Light in my hand. My opponent's only card is Kahira, but I am still one land short. So this would be a good spot to go get Valky, Tybalt. But if I can just be patient and wait one more turn, I can just win the game. I don't know which one's right. Looks like I'm casting it. Interesting. Okay, so my opponent just scoops it up. I mean, I was probably just going to go get Valky, but that's reasonable. He had no cards. So I will see you for round number 3. Okay, I finally win the die roll in round number 3, and I start with the Steam Vents. I can't remember if I mulligan or not, but it looks like my opponent, Basic Mountain Goblin Guide, attack for 2. Not the greatest matchup, which is one reason I have a sideboard plan, but I have Omnath in my hand. Ooh, that's good. It's one of my best cards in this matchup is Omnath. It's one of the, like, the ability to kind of stabilize my life total is a good reason to have at least one access to one Omnath in your deck. He reveals Bring to Light off of the Goblin Guide hits, and just showing him what it does. Looks like he's a returning to Magic player, so he may not be familiar with all the cards, but Burn is always a nice, reliable thing. Straightforward, even if some of the cards are new to you, they're relatively straightforward on what they do. That doesn't mean it's necessarily easy to play. That's a little bit of a controversial thing. It's hard to. I actually think playing aggressive decks at a high level is hard, but the straightforwardness of how the cards work are pretty intuitive, which is why I like decks like this. New card Amped Raptor. It's basically a 2-mana mini Bloodbraid Elf, and it is really, really good. Some people are even saying it's the best card in the set. And it looks like I am showing my respect because I am casting Remand. Although Fire Ice is pretty sweet here too, but I'm going to remand this so hard because I don't want him getting the card. Luckily, it is not actually Cascade, so it's not on cast trigger. It is enters the battlefield, which it will not do. He reveals land, so I get to draw a card. So if I did mulligan, mulligan is undone. And I am drawing a lot of lands. But see, I've got Ren 6, Omnath, Remand again, Planar Genesis. It's a fine hand. It's a good hand, but as you've probably been noticing in these patterns, I am very much, as much as you really can be with this deck. I mean, this is the pressure deck. It is like you need to establish your game plan or stop me very fast because your life total will be going down very fast. Okay, so I hit my land drops. Can't really afford to be shonking here. I have 2 mana. I guess I can just remand Amtraptor again. Yeah, just buy time to Omnath. Ooh, am I letting this resolve? I don't like that. Okay, so he actually gets to save an energy here, which makes his next Amtraptor could be for 3. Man, Amtraptor, what a magic card. Goes in so many decks too. And Lava Spike, oh, so bad for me. Why did I not remand Amtraptor? That seems like a mistake. I remand. Okay. I think this is a mistake. I guess I was wanting to cast that Planar Genesis and try to get Omnath online. That must have been my logic. But then I saw Spike. I was like, that's too much damage. Invert Polarity. Okay, so I took 2, 3, 4. And it looks like he's reading the new card, which is reasonable because these are new. I either counter spell or I steals it. Steals it mine. But that has not happened yet. Stealing a lava spike is not very good. But stealing like a lightning bolt or a I don't think he'd be playing Searing Blaze. Okay, so Ren and 6 can kill the Amped Raptor. So at least that's a thing. Okay. I take out 2 threats. So slows him down, pumps the brakes a little bit, but we know he has Lava Spike in his hand, which is bad for me. Yeah, so Spike, so that's minimum 5 damage. What is that? Another Goblin guy? That's not good. Is that 2 Goblin guys in his hand? So that's 6, 7, 8, 9. So not lethal, but still pretty good.
I'm in danger.
So keep going. The exile cards stay exiled. Eidolon. Interesting. A lot of people were cutting that for Amtraptor. But Eidolon's pretty good here. Even though a lot of the spells in my deck are big, like our life total disparity is good enough to make that worth it. He has 2 mana left. Oh my goodness. Oof. Not good for me. I do not like this. It still has a surplus of an energy. Okay. There is a Genesis. So I'm going to draw that for my turn. He's going to read the new card. Yeah. Totally valid. The reason I'm playing the deck, the single card here. So I'll have 2 in my hand, which is normally really good. I just do not have time to deploy all these spells. Plus, they would hit me for damage. Oof. He takes 2 to spike me, but it's totally worth it. Kind of surprised he didn't play that. Oh, maybe that's not Goblin Guide. Yeah, I guess that's not Goblin Guide. Oh no, I think I know what it is. Yeah. This is all bad for me. Very, very bad. I think it's a Skewer the Critics, which is basically just lightning bolts. So he would take 2 more damage, but okay, he has so much damage. There's no chance I can win this game. Yeah, game 1 is pretty unwinnable. He would have to have a kind of a bad draw. I'd have to have a really good draw and Scapeshift him really fast. And that has happened before in the past. I've had games like that, but I actually used to mainboard the Empyrean plan because it was good against Dredge, Affinity, and Burn, and one other deck. I'm having trouble remembering. There's one other deck, but it was good against all those decks. So Omnath here is actually a pretty sweet draw. This is one of my better draws. It's funny because I have Omnath. I could gain a net of 7 life, which is usually pretty devastating against Burn. But I saw his hand, and his hand is just stacked. He can deal so much damage through all this. Okay, so I'm doing it on his upkeep to reduce his chances of drawing. If any chance that he has main boards. Oh, it's Skullcrack. Oh my goodness. So I'm just dead, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm very dead. So instead of gaining 4 life, I will lose 3 life. Yep. That's it. He has Boris Charm. Just play Boris Charm. I'm dead. Did he tap? Oh, he tapped wrong. Ooh, I like that. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter because he's going to attack me at 1. He has Searing Blaze. Okay. All right. I am dead. Good game, sir. Good game. All right. Let's go on to game 2. Okay, game 2. I play land. I think we both kept 7. I think. Hard to remember those details sometimes. I don't wasn't watching. I don't think I'd start recording until after we resolved mulligans in most of the rounds. Turn 1 haste creature is still very strong. I think burn is actually just such an evergreen deck, and I hope it stays that way. It felt like there are seasons where it's not as playable, but the game plan can't really ever be bad. It's just, it is one of those decks where it's enough of the metagame, you can beat it if you want to, in most cases. Not all decks can, but you can play the right combination of cyber cards to where burn just can't deal with it. I would say Burn's only real bad match, well, I shouldn't say only. Soul Sisters kind of decks are pretty bad, but Dredge, it was not super great because it gained a lot of life naturally. Okay, that I like seeing. I basically just need to trade 1-for-1 with him as much as I can and get to as late of a game as I can. I'm pretty sure I brought in Platinum Imperium. Yeah. I definitely would bring in Platinum Imperium here. He would not be suspecting it. The problem is, it's like if you win game 2 with it, it's pretty. They bring in a bunch of stuff to deal with it, and then it's not really an out anymore. So it's always good to try to get at least one win, the first win, without revealing it. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so I have Prismatic Ending, Wrenn and 6, 2 lands, and Invert Polarity. I'm not loving Invert Polarity here. I don't like that that's still in my deck. So it may have just been for the sake of, hey, I just want to showcase the new card. I do think that thought crossed my mind. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that thought crossed my mind. I was like, yeah, it's not clear what I bring in, and the whole point is to play the new cards. But it's probably wrong. It's probably wrong to even play the card in my deck, but I do want to try it out, even though I'm 0 for 2. So Spike, Skewer, I'm at 11. So between my fetches, so fetch, 6. That's 8. Why am I at 11? Am I missing something? Oh, he hit me for 1 with. Yeah, so he's played 3 cards and dealt with half my life total. So here I can pretty cleanly. Ooh, so it wouldn't be the worst to leave up Invert Polarity. I have to shock here. Ugh. But I decided to do it. You know, it's like, hey, show them the new cards, right? Okay, so I see 2 Boros Charm, a Lightning Helix, a retro frame card that could be anything. Might be Skullcrack. Stuck on 2 lands. So he's really at 1 spell a turn. He's got a bunch of 2-mana cards in his hand. I do like Jace here, because Jace finds me cards, plus if he burns Jace, that's like gaining life. Oh, I just passed. Okay, so I'm excited. But stealing a Boros Charm isn't like that good. I mean, countering it and stealing it are basically the same thing in this situation. Did I do it? Okay. I stole it. I don't have a good sound for that. But I finally... The one I win is like the least relevant one. But countering the spell here is good. So I was basically just got countered. So look, he's saving his mana for my instep. And he missed another land drop. So he's got all burn in his hand, which is probably bad for me. Okay, I need to basically find land, bring the light. Or I'm dead. He can just like burn, untap, burn, and I'm just dead. I can't fetch anymore. It'd be at 1 if he double charms me. Yeah, that's not good. Anger of the Gods is fine. What am I putting back? Just a couple lands. Second Jace. I guess I want to land on top. That'd be guaranteed 5th land. Okay, Helix is not charm like that. We're at the point where 1s and 2s matters. Oof. Still missing his land drops. If my opponent would have been hitting at least, if my opponent would have hit 2 more lands to double 2-mana spell, I probably would have been dead by now. But normally Burn would rather see more spells, less lands. They can operate on 2 lands. It's just in this situation, hit all his cards are 2. Yeah, so he just helixes me now while the shields are down. I go to 2. So basically, I'm like, hey, I get to untap with Jace, and I just have to find. Yeah, I just have to find Madcap here. The cool thing is, if I accidentally draw the Imperium, I have Jace. This is what I like about Jace. Is I just brainstorm it right back into the deck. All right, well, I've got 5 mana. So I just need to find Bring to Light or Madcap. I have 5 outs, and I get 4 looks. Okay, did not draw it. All right, here goes nothing. Nope. Nope. Oh, you see, I'm like, oh, I hit it. He's tapped out, or I would have been dead. So I'm going to do the thing. Yeah, I'm going to do the thing, and hopefully this wins me the game at 2 life. And yes, I play the land tap because I would die. So we're doing a very old school. It's weird to call it old school because to me it doesn't feel like it's that old compared to what real old Magic is. But as of today, the number of years ago, it is old. So old school Madcap experiment into Platinum. But he's reading the card. Probably has not played against this or hasn't seen it in a while, which is most people that still play this format. But it is going to do a thing. It is going to feel a little bit like a polymorph from nothing. And I'm just revealing a bunch of cards. I'm doing this kind of slowly. I am counting because it kind of matters because I'm supposed to lose the life. I reveal the Scapeshift, another Bring to Light. I am doing this very slowly. Okay, yeah, I'm like, let's pick up the pace. Uh-oh. So he does get to look at all the cards. Nothing really new and surprising. No like crazy white gain life card, but he does get to look at it to see any potential cyber cards. I guess he saw a Flusterstorm there. That was really the only new thing. All right. Can this Empyrean go the distance? It's at least 3 attack steps from winning. But I don't think he'll be able to beat this. Boros Charm can't target it. Skullcrack can't target it. And stacking 8 damage is just basically impossible. You'd have to do it all at once. So I'm pretty sure, unless he had the foresight to bring in Path Exile or something, I don't think he can beat this card. More likely he'd bring in Smash to Smithereens. So he has a bunch too many. He has Helix, Deflecting Palm. Interesting. And 2 other cards. I can't tell if those are Skullcracks or not. I think that's what they are. But anyway. Found his 3rd land. Interesting. Might be a little too late here. My opponent's just like, what am I supposed to do against this? And the answer is, please scoop up your cards. So I've got Anger, Renin 6, I think Prismatic Ending. No, I'm not sure. Some white card and Dryad. Those are my cards. Is that Wrath of the Skies? Can't quite see. Looks like a white card. Yeah, we're discussing something about my life total. So, I don't know. I'm going to try to skip ahead just a wee bit in this conversation. Okay. Opponent fetches Basic Mountain. Representing a potential play. Amped Raptor into building up a board is probably what he wants to start doing, but I don't think that's going to really get anywhere. My plan is that no one saw us coming because that's, the whole point. Okay, it was Prismatic. Okay, so I drew Jace the Mind Sculptor. Not a great draw, but luckily I have a Jace the Mind Sculptor to fix that. And I drew Bring to Light, okay, and a bunch of Renin 6s. So I have a bunch of extra copies of cards I don't want in my hand, but Renin 6 can find a fetch land here, which is nice. So I have Dryad, Renin 6, Anger. Oh, look, this time I'm going to tap right. See? Yeah. I don't know if I maybe discussed it after games. Like, actually, I noticed tapped wrong. I don't remember. I'm still not over that. But anyway, so Ren and 6 does not go to 5. He goes to 4. Just put the wrong face to die. Playing pretty sloppy tonight. Haven't played in a little bit. Deflecting palm. I think I remember here. I'm like, uh-oh. Can that redirect it back to itself? Or is it only to me? Turns out it's just to me. But so it's like basically fog. Yeah, there's someone spectating the match. It's like sometimes little things like tapping the wrong land and putting the wrong face of the die are things no one notices. Like I've even seen situations where feature matches with judges, viewers, and commentators all will miss like little things, especially if it's like playing an extra lane on a long turn. Those are more reasonable. So I'd play Dryad here. I'm pretty sure, luckily, ultimately, none of the mistakes affect the game, which matters the most in, one, doing the content is awkward, but two, for regular REL game sequencing and stuff. But Ren and 6 is at 4 loyalty, not 5. But should be able to wrap the game up next turn with this Bring to Light in my hand. And we did it. So in hindsight, I don't know if attacking was right there. I mean, I guess it was. I wasn't really thinking of it. Is there like some card that beats me with an attack and burn? Deflecting SWAT, not sure. He plays creature. I'm like, yep, that is a card. And I reveal Bring to Light and do the thing. So I managed to steal a game. I guess you could say that. I'm at 2 life. Found the card last second. I do manage to steal a game against one of my worst matchups. That's as much as I could ask for. Yeah, I basically just have to show him that I have enough mountains in my deck. So I do that. And he shows me his hand. Oh no, he's showing me that he has Helix when I had 8 lands. So I'd have to get double Valakut kill. Okay. So we will go ahead. He's already scooped up his cards, and we'll go to game 3. Okay, game 3. Opponent on the play hits me with a haste creature. Not good for me. Already feeling. Oh, not that one. It's true. The clock is on. What do I got? I got Planar Genesis, Bring to Light, Snapcaster Mage is a good card. Dryad. It's weird because like Supreme Verdict is like a fine card, but it's clunky in my deck because of the color demands in its 4 mana. So I've already taken 6 damage, and my lands will also hurt. But at least I can deal with this. I have a Prismatic Ending, which I did not use. Ketria Triumph does not make white mana. So I did not want to take 3 just to kill it, because my fetch lane cannot find basic planes. But if I'm going to take 3 anyway, wouldn't it be better just to kill this guy? Yeah, I think I might have. I don't know if I noticed that, but I think that might be a mistake. So if he hits me for 3 damage. Oh, geez, he has a lot of burn. If he hits me for 3 damage this turn with Spear, right now it's at 2. Then I'm actually netting 1 more damage. Oh, he brought Path to Exile. So respecting the Empyrean. So he is hitting me for 3. So this was a big mistake. I should have just shocked Exile your creature, because, yeah, I had to take 3. But now I'm technically taking 4 because I'm still having to pay 1 to use the land to get a tapped land. So I lost an extra life, which absolutely matters in decks like this. Look at my life total. The difference of 1 life can just be all, like if he was on just Boros Charm, that kills me here. What? Oh, I still think I might have made a mistake there. But now Boros Charm kills me, where if he would have done those same 2 spells, I'd be at 5, and so Boros Charm does not kill me. So things like that absolutely matter. So I wanted to accelerate for some reason. Why did I want to do that? Oh, okay. Because I have Bring Light in my hand, so I just want to get to Empyrean. Although that would not win me the game this time. Okay, so I do have answers. What I should do here is ending his guy, because that's a sorcery. Okay, good. I'm doing that. Not the absolute worst player, although pretty bad. Made quite a few mistakes this game. Both play errors and decision mistakes. Okay, so fire is good at killing a creature, which he does not have. But I'm at 4 life, which is really bad. Psych, I am at 1 life. So no fetches, no shocks. And I'm sitting there looking at my hand like, what do I do? I think I cycle the ice trying to find land number 5, but it basically has to be basic land. Basic forest is my only out here. But I'm not aware of the fact that he has path in his hand. So I guess I could play Wrenn and 6, but Wrenn and 6, I can't fetch the land. Oh, it's so weird. But I can Wrenn and 6 and leave open Remand, I guess. I don't know. It's all pretty bad. All right. I put the right face of the die this time. I am in some serious trouble. Not being able to fetch here is really bad for me. Wear Tear. What respect for him, period. I mean, I guess he just can't beat it otherwise, right? But now he's stuck with, he's got a Searing Blaze in his hand. I'm kind of surprised that's still in his deck. Though if I play a creature, I'm dead. Well, if he keeps bricking, I mean, there are outs for me. But not being able to play, I can't get 5. Okay, that could be a 5th mana. So here's the thing. I have Dryad in my hand. So it's tempting to go like Dryad Valakut Trigger. But Dryad loses me the game because it's a creature. You could, for some reason, that card's still in his deck, which works for him here. So I play Valakut Trigger. He goes, respond. You are dead. Well, good game, sir. There's a chance I could have come back and win next turn, but I probably would have just gone for Empyrean and then he had the answer. But he was out of burn in his hand. I can't actually play it. Oh, I can. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm still dead. So I can make mana on it with, that's why I played Dryad. Okay. Yeah, he still beats me. Silly me. All right, well, here comes the last round. It looks like my opponent's on the play and goes Citadel into Lava Spur Boots. So my first thought, some kind of Affinity deck, or yeah, that's really all I could be. I mean, there are the decks that could want that card, but they're probably just worse than Affinity. And so I would have to have a reason to think my opponent would be playing one of his pet decks, but I don't know who this person is, so my assumption is Affinity. Does that change much? I don't know. My hand is Bring to Light land, Bring to Light, 2 invert polarities. Not a great hand, although I think I kept it to try to show off that I was trying to see if I could get more die roll wins on camera. And so far it has not been working out. I should probably cut it in this matchup. I don't know if I do. I hope I do. Urza Saga, that's bad for me. Frogmite, it's not great for me, but it's not the fastest clock. All right, so I can just build up my mana. Hopefully I draw something I can cast on turn 2. Best draw here would probably be, I guess, just Planar Genesis, right? Just best card in my deck. Fire Ice would be a fine draw. 3rd copy of Invert Polarity. Okay, I know it's probably not right to play that many, if any. But come on, I gotta try the new cards, right? Right? Someone agree with me, please. So Midnight, not a super scary card here, but the if he has a land for his Urza Saga, I would be scared, which looks like that is what he's doing. So bad for me. Yeah, the tokens are going to kill me really fast. That's a problem. Opponent's making some thinky decisions. So Bring to Light, Invert Polarity, Invert Polarity, Island. That's my hand. Not a good hand. Although if it was like 3 lands, or if it's like 4 lands, 2 Polarity, and a Bring to Light, I guess I keep that blind. Probably shouldn't keep it on the draw, though. That might have been a mistake. If I had a reason to believe my opponent was playing a slower deck, then I maybe. So he did. I think that's what he's trying to figure out, is if he had some way to make a token and equip boots, but he didn't. So he's going to make a token in step. I go land pass, so I am representing Polarity, but my opponent has Sagas, which means he's probably not going to be spending his mana on spells. So that's just how it goes. That is just how it goes. So I am in big trouble. So he's gonna make a token. He's going to chapter 3. That's what's happening here. We're just a little bit of shortcutting. So one moves to 2, one moves to 3. He's got 2 giant dudes, one of which is sick, but he does have a lava spur boots. I'm at 17. Yeah, I fetched and he hit me for 2. So the Frogmite's actually untapped. He just hasn't physically moved it. I'm trying to remember how this game goes. I'm pretty sure I just get ran over by construct tokens because my hand does not interact well with an Urza Saga. I don't think there's any main board cards that just, I mean, a Supreme Verdict, but it deals with the land. Okay, so he could make 2 mana this turn, but just as is, how much is that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he has 2 7/7s. If he equips the boots, that's 8 plus 7 is 15. So I'm not dead. Oh, 15, 16. Okay, no, I'm actually dead on board. Yeah, because he can attack with Frogmite and, yeah, dead on board. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So he equips, and I'm like, wait, I see me doing the math, and I am dead. Okay, so game 1 was quite a I ran you over, and I kept a bad hand. So let's see how game 2 goes. Okay, I'm on the play in game 2, and I have quite a bit of sideboard action I can bring in. Wasn't clear if I want to bring it all in, like a sign to memory. Do I bring that in? Probably, but hard to say. All right, my opponent has 2 artifacts, 3 artifacts on turn 1. This is feeling like old school Affinity. Old school Affinity. Part of me does miss the deck, although I think the deck is significantly more powerful with Urza Saga. But it did lose Mox Opal, so hard to say. So my opponent had a pretty classic Affinity start. It's funny because the classic Affinity deck, there's a time period where it didn't play any cards with the card type Affinity on them. Interesting how that is. So I decided to go after his mana. Interesting. I guess he's playing relatively smaller pieces. These aren't really his payoff cards, so I just want to slow him down and make land drops to where I can get to one of my big sideboard haymakers. One of the problems with Affinity traditionally and still today is there are quite a few cards that are just anti-artifact. In pretty much all colors have access to it except for, I guess, black. But black has enough anti-creature. It's All right, so he finds second Springleaf Drum, which is a little annoying, and he has some pretty good set of cards here. He does need to find a card that gives him a lot of pressure, like a Cranial Blading or something. Ornithopter is not going to be it, but he is going to hit me for 2, so there is a small clock on me. Emphasis on the small. Ooh, got a lot of focus there. A little out of focus, so hopefully it doesn't stay that way. All right. Dryad's a nice pickup. Play second land. So I've got a Supreme Verdict in my hand, which is kind of nice. A little awkward with the Dryad, though. Probably worth it, though, right? Because Dryad is also just a stone blocker. I guess I wouldn't do it here. Ooh, interesting. So that does not trigger. Because there's only 4 other mountains. And don't want to cast Supreme Verdict. Can't cast my 5-drop. I have a Bring Blight in my hand, so not the best turn. At least I found a land. So I Bring to Light next turn. Okay, Instep Odawara. Ooh, I wonder, did I bring in... I'm trying to remember if I brought in Empyrean. Because it's good to know Odawara can deal with Empyrean. That's not good. My opponent still has not found a payoff card, which I like. So it hits me for 3. Still a clock. Gotta respect it. Consign to Memory. It's a little bit of a weird card. Okay, so do I just fire off the BTL? Do I destroy all creatures? BTL. Ooh, counterspell. Okay, I think I was planning on getting Empyrean because he used his Odawara. So I was like, okay, the odds he has an answer to this are pretty low, right? But he had a counter, so it didn't matter. So do I fire off Supreme Verdict or do I wait for a more important card? I'm not sure. It seems like the Dryad just kind of brickwalls this attack force. And I have a Valakut, so now I can start getting triggers. Yep. And I have a counter spell. Well, seems like it's all right. So I go after his creature. Not sure if that's right. Because if I go after him, then Scapeshift is lethal. Oh, I guess Scapeshift's lethal anyway with Dryad. Like I said, it's been a little while, huh? It's been a little while. Okay, he finds a 4/4, and I'm like, yeah, I'll trade 1 for 1 with that. I spend 1 mana, you spend 0 mana, and we trade 1 for 1. Jace is a nice top deck. So Jace can find me a land drop. Maybe he can find me land planar, and so 2 lands. That'd be kind of cool. So let's see. Oh, there's that card. So I did find the land plus planar or whatever. So do I do that though? So I can play land, and now I'm thinking about if I want to go upstairs or not. I have the Madcap, but I'm like, maybe I shouldn't expose Madcap in case I need it for game 3. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. So I go upstairs. I have a Planar Genesis. Could deal with 3 more damage. Find a Scapeshift. Planar Genesis, just what a card. Okay, so my opponent is having one of those games where it's like, okay, here's all my pieces, my engine, but no payoff cards. Lava Spur Boots is nice, gives him flying attack power, but it's just not enough. Okay, there's the Madcap. Super tempting to cast it, but I think I have a pretty clear lead in this game, so I need to save. Oh, and there's Bring to Light. So Jace doing some work. I'm representing 6 damage just on the land drop. One has 1 card, so I'm thinking, okay, if this is a counter spell, I should have enough to pay for it. So that deals 3 damage. Should I fetch and do it? Let me make sure I'm right about it. Yeah. So I have that plus 3 if he has another counter spell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting the colors as if I don't have a Dryad on the battlefield. So I have plenty of damage here. All right, so I get the Scapeshift, and he just concedes. Fair enough. All right, so going into the final game. I am on the draw, of course, which is not the place I want to be in. I'd like to think I could be able to win game 1 against Affinity, but Affinity has gotten quite a bit of upgrades compared to me in the last couple of years over the Modern Horizon sets. I don't think I've played a Bring... That's not true. I have played Bring to Light Scapeshift a few times in locals, where I tried Fire Ice. Now, one time I didn't try Fire Ice, but I switched to a Growth Spiral build. It's my old version. This old was the OG, like a lot of basic lands with Secure Tribe Elder and Search for Tomorrow. That's the one I had a lot of success with. I could control my colors, keep mountains in my deck. The problem is those are pretty bad top decks most of the time. So I tried a Growth Spiral build, and it was like, it had moments where it was good, but my mana was weird a lot of the time. I had mild success with it, but it didn't feel nearly as consistent as this does. And so that 1 card made that much of a difference. So even though I didn't get a lot, it's not like a brand new deck with all these new cards. This 1 new card just radically improves the deck. Now, does it do so to like tier level? I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. If I manage to keep playing the deck and it keeps winning at the rate that it seems to be winning at, might be good enough. So I decide to ice his Urza Saga in response to putting the chapter. I'm like, well, it's basically like dealing with a construct token, and I draw a card, and it takes him down a mana. So I like that. All right, what am I holding? I got a Jace. Looks like a Planar Genesis. Okay, so Jace, Planar Genesis, a Prismatic Ending, and some lands. Is Is that right? There might be one other spell there I can't really see. But that's actually a pretty good set of cards. So I can go Instep Genesis. If I hit land, I'll have 5 mana. And so if he has a double construct token, I can deal with both construct tokens. So that is really nice. And he has to waste one of his chapter 2s because I iced him. So that's nice. So he decides to just float a mana here, not make a construct token. But he could still make a construct token on the other one. So I guess that's why. It's kind of the other way of doing it. Okay. Construct number 1. So I assume he either gets a boots or he gets a drum. Boots or drum. Yeah, that makes the most sense. Yep. So drum, I can use the summoning sick token for mana. Oh, I have Scapeshift in my hand. Okay. So I have a path to victory. The one thing is my affinity decks, my opponent's affinity deck, doesn't really deal itself damage like most modern decks do with shocks and fetches. So that changes the turns on the clock. Because I didn't use fire on his life total. So he's still at 20, which means 7 lands does not kill him. So I either need to get to 8 lands and survive to get to 8. Or I need to fire him or 2 Rin and 6 act pings, something. Frogmere Enforcer. Or Frogmite Enforcer? Frog Summon Enforcer, whatever. The new Frogmite Mirror Enforcer in 1 card, which is a cool card. And it resolves, so I decided to do the Genesis Thingy Majigger. New magic card for him. It's always satisfying when a new set comes out and significantly upgrades your deck. One of your favorites. I seem to be excited about something. Okay, what was that? Prismatic Ending. Okay, I guess I had another Jace. Don't want that. Prismatic Ending. So ending is interesting here. So I have one in my hand. I think I like the Jace plan, so I should take the land, even though I've got a lot of lands in my hand. This allows me to... I wonder if I should have fetched first. I don't know the answer to that. Let me know what you think in the comments if you're still here watching and you haven't thought about that. Should I fetch, then do the top 4? So if there's cards I don't want, fetching first is right. So like, I want to keep those cards at the bottom. If it's cards I would want reshuffled, then it's not. So it's like, I'm going to lean toward it probably should have been right to shuffle to fetch first. I think that's right. Okay, another land, not a great draw here, but I do have a Jace to fix that. Oh, Jace, you have been excellent. Possibly the best card other than Planar Genesis in this tournament. So see, I can just go tap 4, play Jace. Jace can either brainstorm. I decided to bounce his dude. That does make his mana a little worse, because he needs red mana to play that, and he does not have red mana naturally. And now he doesn't get... Yeah, I think this play is better. So I could have brainstormed and just took... Jace could absorb 1 hit and still be alive. But this way, he doesn't get to use his construct activation here. So I have effectively dealt with 2 Urza Sagas, and he has no tokens. So that's really good for me. That's really good for me. I'm already at 5 lands. I'm still at 18 life with Jace in play. I'm liking that. So my opponent's having, like, I don't want to say mana problems, but he's not deploying threats fast enough to pressure me. So this time I am not under pressure. High quality humor. All right. So I have Scapeshift in my hand, but my opponent's at 20. I have 5 lands. So Jace should be able to hopefully fix my hand. And if I can, honestly, if I can just draw a high enough impact sideboard card, that should do it. Okay, so he decides to get a Haywire Might and play Citadel as his land. So no Urza Saga is really good. Haywire Might doesn't do anything. Unless he's assuming I'm on Leyline Binding. That's what I call super next level. No one's expecting me not to play Leyline Binding. It also deals with the ring. So like the normal version of this deck, these would be good cards, but it's my deck. I mean, technically they would play Pithing Needle deal with the ring, which would also deal with Jace. I don't know. 1, 2, 5, 6. So he actually needs to pay one more mana. No, he had a mana floating from. Yeah, he had a mana floating from his Urza Saga. Okay, so my friend I let him borrow some cards, so he's returning them to me. The tournament, this last round of the tournament. All right, so my opponent has a lot of card draw in his hand. Oh wait, no, that's that new card. That's the new improvised guy. Oh, Simulacrum. So he's got a lot of gas, but he can't. They're kind of expensive. And I think he's trying to do math on whether or not he can play his 6-drop, which he cannot. Is that Bring to Light or was that Genesis? Okay, I brainstormed as Genesis, land, Jace. We don't want the second Jace. We don't want the mountains. Maybe we do want second Jace, actually. Okay, I do have Bring to Light. Oof, that's pretty good. There's Fetch Land, good with Brainstorm. Oh, I just have all the goodies. So what does this get here? Why would I cast this? I think he's trying to figure out if he has enough to play the improvised counter. I forgot the name. And he should, right? He can make blue with the... I think he's trying to figure out how to do it, but he doesn't know. So he can make blue with one of his creatures, and he has 2 more artifacts. / land artifact or whatever. I was trying to tell him that. I was like, are you trying to play the improvised Metallic Rebuke? That's the name. Okay, so it doesn't matter. He countered it. But what would I have got there? Do I just get the Empyrean? That would be pretty good, actually. Empyrean cannot be taken out by Haywire Might because it is non-creature artifact. That's okay. So I do need to get to 8 lands, but I have plenty of life. I really just need 2 more turns, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 7, 8. So I need 2 more turns. Oh, wait. That's not true. That's not true. So I have a Planetary Genesis in my hand. And that card says, put a land into play. Now, I should find a land in the top 4 generally. But I also have a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Actually, I probably don't have a Jace the Mind Sculptor because he should attack the Jace. Yeah, never mind. I was going to say, I have a Jace. So, okay. So here's a mistake I make. I just fetched here, but I knew the top 2 cards of my deck were lands. So if I draw for my turn, I know for sure there's a land on top for that Genesis, and then that would be the game. Now, the odds of Genesising a land are pretty high, but that was definitely the right play. Well, maybe I don't know that. I guess I could. He probably has another counterspell, right? I should assume that. Okay, so I guess I decide I don't want to play into his counterspell, so I'm just going to play the longer game. I have plenty of life. As tempting as it is to pick off this Haywire Might, do I even care about this Haywire? I mean, I guess it takes him down an artifact. Yeah, I'm clearly thinking about it, right? I'm like, I decide I don't care. I just want to hit lands. I assume I have lands in my hand, though, right? Do I not have a land? Well, I can just shuffle my Jace is so good. People say he's not playable anymore in Modern. I disagree. Okay, so Jace gets counter, which is kind of actually good for me because I eats a counter out of his hand, and Renin 6 will make sure I hit land number 8, which I technically already have. Oh, focus thing again. All right. All right. The game is getting closer to a close. I need to hope. It doesn't look like he has another Metallic Rebuke in his hand, but I don't technically know that. Okay, he plays that new land from I forget which set it was from, but it's like 3 tap, discard a card. You look at the top X cards, X number of your artifacts, put any card in your hand. Such a good card. So that card would probably beat me over the course of a game, but we're getting close to where I could just like Scapeshift can just end the game. Okay, he's got something here. I think this is the new guy from Modern Horizons 3. So we are going to get to see a new card. What's weird about this card is he triggers himself. So when any artifact enters, including him, or it either says when he enters and another artifact, he gets a +1 counter and becomes unblockable for the turn. So he gets one there, he gets a second one there, third one there. Oof. Okay, my opponent is no longer representing Metallic Rebuke, so I'm feeling safe to go for the win. I have plenty of mountains in my deck. Only 2 are in play, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That represents 36 damage, and I just have that Scapeshift from earlier in the game. I guess that makes sense why I just ran out the Bring to Light, because if I could get something or force him to counter it or whatever. I think this is going to be it. My opponent's just looking at his hand. He's like, yeah, I don't got anything. He's like, I'd use that Rebuke. Yep. So my opponent scoops it up, and that is the end. So the deck performed much better than I was expecting, but played as I was hoping. And it was quite a bit of fun. The new card Planar Genesis is excellent. Jace the Mind Sculptor is still excellent, as you can see back here. So if you are still with me to the end, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.